Warning: this episode contains scenes that some viewers may find disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised. Hello everyone, I'm Anthony BergerOn, and this is BergerOn the Movies, where I talk about my favorite movies of all time and why I love them so much. However, in order to do that, I have to include some spoilers. So, if you haven't seen the movie I'm going to be talking about and want to watch it without any preconceived notions, then stop watching this right now, go watch the movie, and then come back and watch this. If this is your first time joining me, you should hit the subscribe button and subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can also find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. With all that aside, let's get started with this week's episode, where I will be talking about the new movie, Vox Lux. So, Vox Lux is an interesting choice for this show because it is so new. But when I saw it, I knew it was one of my favorite movies of all time. Maybe not top 10, I will admit, because those slots are definitely filled. But it's definitely one of my favorite movies. It's definitely a cult movie. It's not for everyone. It's very divisive, and that is apparent with its Rotten Tomatoes score. But I really enjoyed it when I watched it for the first time. It's not exactly what I thought it was going to be. I thought I was going to get more of like a Velvet Goldmine. But amazing. It's still bright, dark, yet bright, yet thought-provoking at the same time, with great music. So, let me dive into what this movie is all about. Starring Natalie Portman, Ralphie Cassidy, Jude Law, and Stacey Martin. And written and directed by Brady Corbet, or Corbett? Corbet? I don't know, who you might recognize as one of the killers in Funny Games if you've seen that movie. The Funny Games remake, the American version.
Correct. It's a golf ball. But why do I have it in my pocket?
Because you didn't hit it.
Correct. Because I didn't hit it.
That is another movie I actually highly recommend. It might be on the list one day. That is definitely a favorite. So the movie starts out with young Ralphie Cassidy playing Celeste, which the symbolism behind that name already means heavenly. She is in class in 1999. Big spoiler alert. This opening is probably one of the most traumatic and haunting and effective openings I have witnessed in a long time.
I saw Eric 5 minutes ago.
Oh, all right then, we'll wait. I said we'll wait.
Excuse me.
Yes.
My name is Colin Active.
What?
My name is Colin Active.
Yes, Colin, I know.
Why are you doing this? Stop! I'm standing. I'll stand.
At least let everyone else go. I'll stay here with you.
What are we gonna do?
We'll pray together.
This scene is so powerful that the movie almost doesn't reach this kind of peak after in the character development that it gives Celeste. She is the only survivor of the school shooting, which she absolutely should not have survived with the wound she has. In my opinion, it looks like she should definitely be dead, but she does survive, and she ends up going to a memorial and singing a song she wrote while she was in the hospital.
Hey, turn the light on, 'cause I've got no one to show me the way.
She ends up getting famous because it is filmed and on the news, and she sings the song, and it ends up making her a huge star. So note, she got famous from a tragedy, from a horrible event, from other people's pain and misery in a way. So she ends up going to New York and becoming a huge pop star with her manager, played by Jude Law, and her sister. And her sister's writing a lot of her music, by the way, at this point. So she becomes a huge star. She ends up going through 9/11. They kind of go through the years chronologically after that, 1999. Each section of the movie is like a chapter. It's kind of divided into parts, like prologue, Genesis, Regenesis, and then finale, the finale. She ends up spiraling out of control. You start to see that she's starting to get addicted to drugs, no thanks to Jude Law, and she has a hit song called Hologram.
I wish you'd disappear. Now I've seen enough of your dirty love.
Then, where you think we would normally go down a normal narrative, now we jump ahead to 2017 in the story, and we go into one day in the life of Celeste now, and she is a huge pop star played by Natalie Portman. However, she is nothing like the Celeste that we met in Act 1, and she's very abrasive and mean, and she still has this scar from the bullet, so she has this mark on her that she covers up with a neck, like, brace type. She's very arrogant though, and she now has a daughter that her sister completely takes care of, also played by Raffi Cassidy, who played her younger part as Celeste. What I think is so interesting here, in the first act with Raffi Cassidy, the younger Celeste, takes place over a long time span. So she kind of goes, it's like probably a few years, or longer than a day. And then the second act is just one day in the life of the older Celeste, who is now struggling with addiction and all these problems, and she's really abrasive and rude and angry and bitter at the world. So as we, the audience, join her on this journey, she has a concert this night, and she has a new album coming out called Vox Lux, which is like a sci-fi pop album. It's going to be her new reboot, her new comeback, because she kind of went downhill with a car accident or DUI or something in the tabloids that really didn't make her look very good. Willem Dafoe, by the way, also narrates randomly throughout this movie when needed, and it works and it doesn't. There are moments that you accept for some reason. You're like, whatever, Willem Dafoe, okay, you can come back in and explain something to me.
And shortly thereafter, the entire country fell in step with her sentiment.
But we see that the relationship that Celeste has with her daughter and her sister is strained because of all these issues. She's a distant, cold person. She has to be careful with who she lets into her world. And you see how damaged she is when she goes to lunch with her daughter for a little bit, just her and her daughter at the paparazzi outside. And this is my favorite scene in the movie. Natalie Portman does such a great job, but we see how sad she is, that she might have disappointed her own daughter for not being around. She is sad. So she ends up trying to drink at the bar, or at the diner as well, and a manager comes up, or someone comes up to try to get an autograph from her, and she loses her crap on this person. They end up like getting kicked out. We also can't quite understand something. There is a disconnect as the audience. Interestingly enough, there is another horrific shooting, and the shooters are wearing her mask from one of her music videos. So now we have this blend of where pop culture and the culture is starting to really come together. So of course, when the press is asking her questions, she has to say she's not involved in this shooting. She has to be there and give a voice for yet another tragedy, and yet it is also making her more famous yet again with her new album. So she is benefiting once again from a horrific, violent shooting. There's a lot of stuff under the surface that doesn't quite make sense until you watch the entire movie, and you have to really push through to the very final moment, the finale. We see Natalie Portman get ready for her concert. She is very upset at her sister because her daughter said something about letting her be with a guy or something. And then she goes to her concert, and she does like a prayer with her crew and her dancers, and we see that she's kind of getting into character a little bit. And then she starts the concert, and we really get to hear the music outside of hologram. We really get to hear the music that she is releasing. And the lyrics are seemingly innocent and your typical pop music. And then Willem Dafoe chimes back in with some very interesting information.
Shortly after her classmate pulled the trigger and sent her to the place between life and death, a place that she was only able to describe to Eleanor as a rush of color. She had met the devil and made a deal with him in exchange for her life. He whispered her melodies, and she returned with a mission to bring great change to the next century. He said, "Shut your eyes and repeat after me. 1 for the money, 2 for the show. On 3, we get ready. And on 4, come with me."
What? What? She's the Antichrist. It's like Gaga's the Antichrist. You guys, you have to rewatch the entire movie, all of her lyrics. And there's moments in the concert where she's acting like Black Swan again, like she's got scary eyes. I love this movie. It says something about pop culture and culture combining, like I said, and how we look to celebrities. She also has, there's this biblical element to it where she has a mark. She's got this scar that she covers up, and she is working for the devil, and she's a pop star. And it's absurd but it is also extremely original, and it's what I think I've looked for in other pop culture, dark, bright movies, and never got before. So I loved this movie, also because of the emotional connection and pull that it brings out of its viewers. The opening scene is hard to top. But the smarts of all of the music and the lyrics, by the way, all of the music was written by Sia, and it is apparently sung by Natalie Portman and Ralphie Cassidy, but I looked into it, and the vocals are actually a lot of other people. But it's still great. This movie's been compared to Star is Born, but it's very different. They both kind of have a similar storyline of a young, woman getting famous, but they are both very, very, very different. Another interesting note is that in the ending scene at the concert, her sister and her daughter are in the audience watching, and they're kind of depressed and they don't look like they're into it because they know the truth. But then eventually they give in and they smile and they start dancing to the music. That kind of reminds me of Rosemary's Baby a bit, where Rosemary kind of gives in to accepting the evil. I'll talk about Rosemary's Baby another time. Another favorite movie of mine. That's basically it. That's Vox Lux. I loved it the first time I watched it. It says so many different things that it's almost hard to explain. It doesn't really quite complete its thoughts on all these things, but I don't think a movie should do that. It should kind of leave you thinking about what it said. And this movie said a lot. Have you seen Vox Lux? Did you like it? If not, or if you did, leave a comment below and let me know your thoughts. So that's it. That's another episode of BergerOn the Movies. I hope you liked it as much as I like movies. Join me next week where I will be talking about another great movie. Can you guess? Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Shh. Until then.